Hello and welcome to today's video. I'm hooked already. Yeah, I have a lot to talk about first though. First of all, I would like to say apologies if this video is a little bit quiet. I've got a really bad ulcer in my throat that's making it quite difficult to talk, hence why I didn't record any real me talking video yesterday. It was all just little clips. But yeah, this week I am hoping to read the Cruel Prince trilogy. I know there is also a book 3.5 and according to Goodreads a 1.5, but I don't know how we access that. I'm assuming it'll just be in the back of one of the books. Basically, if I only read book 1, if I only read book 1 and 2, it's still cool, it's still fine, but I'm aiming to read all 3 this week. I'm going to read the back of it because going in, that is all that I knew. Of course I want to be like them. They're beautiful as blades forged in some divine fire. And Cardan is even more beautiful than the rest. I hate him so much that sometimes when I look at him, I can hardly breathe. One terrible morning, Jude and her sisters see their parent murdered. The fearsome assassin abducts all 3 girls to the fairy court, where Jude soon realises that to survive, she needs to be as cunning and deceitful as the Fae themselves. But the stairway to power is fraught with shadows and betrayal, and looming over all is the arrogant and charismatic Prince Cardan. So I picked it up last night before bed, and I'm now on chapter 14 and I've read 128 pages. It was just so good. I think I'm reading all 3 books this week. I'm going to try and keep book 1 spoiler free until my final synopsis, so I will timestamp it all down below, so if you don't want spoilers there won't be any. You just click out before I get to that point. So I'm going to do hopefully a spoiler free book 1, and then when I do like my final thoughts I'll go into spoilers. But then books 2 and 3 they're going to be spoilers filled, because it'd be spoilers to book 1 to even talk about them. I'm guessing. I haven't read the back, I don't know how it follows on, I don't know anything, so I don't want to risk spoiling myself. But yeah, so what has happened so far? So as far as the human world go, we didn't see a lot of that, and we haven't seen a lot of that at this point. So Jude has 2 sisters, and we find out pretty quickly, as in when this abduction is happening, which I'm pretty sure is like the prologue. Yeah, that this abductor that it speaks about on the back of the book is actually Jude's older sister's dad. And the older sister is then of course half Fae. But that is pretty much all we see. Like, we see the killing and abduction happen, and then after that we move to the fairy courts, and these are so much fun. So Jude and her twin sister Taryn are now 17, because it's been 10 years since that abduction happened, and we see them, you know, like they are in classes, they are trying to figure out, you know, when they become adults, how they're continuing on in this fairy court. And we see that they both have very different ideas. We also see the older sister they're called Vivi, and we don't see as much of her, but in terms of, so Jude wants to figure out how to continue on life at fairy court, but being a human, she doesn't have, you know, that she can't just go off by herself without either being with one of the Fae romantically, or I think there's a few other options in like the royal house, and you know, like it's just not what she wants. Like, she wants to be in that world, but she doesn't want to be reliant on someone else, I think is the best way to put it. Whereas because her older sister is half Fae, she doesn't have quite those same worries, like because of who her dad is. Like, her dad's a Fae. Like, I don't know, we haven't seen enough of that to completely figure out exactly yet, but essentially we mainly follow Jude. We see a lot of the twin sister because they're doing a lot of the same things, and we see her doing things, but we don't necessarily know like her thought processes and like what's actually going on, and it's quite obvious by this point on in the book, you know, I'm at chapter 14, that even though they are sisters, even though they are twins, like they don't know everything about each other. Like they very much want to have their own lives. So yeah, I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it. We've met quite a few of the princes and princesses who I'm assuming one of them is going to end up being like the actual, like the cool prince, which is very interesting because I would say at the point I'm at, I'm not 100% sure which one that would be. Shit is hitting the fan. Shit is really hitting the fan. I was going to update like 20 minutes ago to be like, shit is hitting the fan, but like I just kept reading and it's 20 minutes later and shit is still hitting the fan. Like, I'm loving it. I finished it. Wow. Honestly, I think I'm going to give it 5 stars. I think it was probably actually a 4.5, but there was so much enjoyment and I literally couldn't put it down. So I feel like I might as well actually give it 5 stars because like the amount of enjoyment and the amount of like, oh my god, I need to turn the next page that I got out of it is surely worth an extra half a star. So yeah, bloody hell, what do I say? After finishing this, I feel like I not only understand the title of this book, but also the titles of the other 2 books in the series. So that's something. I don't know how much to say without like spoiling it. What I will say is there are a few twists. None of them I completely guessed, so that was good. And only like 1 or 2 of them had I like guessed parts of. So that aspect of it is really good. What I would call the main twist, the one that we find out closest towards the end, which I think is a big part of how this series is going to continue. Obviously I don't know this, but I feel like knowing the twist, if I was to go back and reread it, I feel like I would be able to piece it all together based on what was said in like to different people. So that's really cool because it was one where like when it happened I wasn't like really surprised, but I did feel like, you know, kind of like, oh, like that actually happened. Like, yeah, like I can definitely pinpoint looking back how this is all. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm now going to go into a spoilery section, and to be honest the rest of the video will be spoilery because to talk about the next book, what happened in this book is obviously going to need to be talked about. So yeah, if you don't want any spoilers at all, if you haven't read further on in the series, turn off now. Or if you only read this book and you're happy with just spoilers for this book, then you can continue watching on and I will give you a warning before I start the next book. But yeah, we need to go to spoilers so I can really talk about this. Okay, so there's so much to talk about, obviously. The big twist, Harden is now the king, and like she turned it round on him really quite well. I feel like it's one of those where I had an inkling that something like that was going to happen, like that she was going to like make him king instead, but I hadn't fully let it form because I was like, well no, like this plan's all in place. But looking back on it, like the things that were being said and done, especially at the end with Oak actually like holding the crown, I was like, this is weird. And I feel like both when he was holding the crown and then when she asked Carden to kneel down to show him what to do, I should have, by that point, I should have known. And I didn't know. So, yep. But yeah, I really enjoyed how all of that worked. What else is there to talk about? What else? Where do I even start? Okay, so obviously, I guess the first thing to talk about is Locke. And the fact that Jude was essentially not dating but kind of seeing Locke, right? But then also the sister was, but I understand that she didn't want to tell her sister to prove to the guy that she was seeing that she could keep a secret and like that she didn't have to tell her. But when that guy starts also dating your sister, surely that's time to say it. Like, surely that should be the wake-up call of like, maybe this isn't right for me. Maybe it's not exactly going to work out. I don't know. I was annoyed at it because, yeah, like there were definitely things that made you think like, oh, like is it also going to be Locke? Especially leading up to the night where he was going to ask for her hand in marriage from the dad. But it was like, well, no, because surely she'd have said. Surely she wouldn't be okay with him also dating her sister. And the sister had been telling her about like kissing him and going to a party. And, oh my gosh, yeah. I wasn't impressed. I understand it, but it's made me really dislike the sister even more because I just don't understand it at all. Then of course she became a spy. How? Like, I've seen people like say stuff about this book, you know, like I don't use TikTok anymore because like it's just full of people giving spoilers, and I'm not a fan of that. Like, I don't want to click on a video that sounds interesting and within 10 seconds or like the entirety of the video being spoiled on a book. That's not for me. But I felt like I had seen things about this book, like, and I don't know, going into it I felt like I'd potentially been spoilt for a lot. I'd potentially know a lot about the book, but I actually didn't, so I was really shocked not to know that she becomes a spy, and becomes a spy quite early on as well. Like, I was really impressed with it. I understand why she just became a spy and she got the opportunity and she wanted to take it, like she wanted that power. But I definitely felt like it should have been questioned a bit more, you know, like maybe like, oh, like give me a day to think about it, you know, like, oh, you know, that sounds good, but maybe I could like talk to someone else about it first, or like, you know, oh, like that's good, maybe I could actually like meet someone else, like I don't need to know who they are, but I could actually see if it's something I want to do. I don't know, it seemed a bit weird to me. Yeah. I wasn't surprised that Maddox betrayed them and was going for the other brother. I felt the betrayal coming on. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but I knew that Maddox was going to betray someone somehow and he was going to be a part of something. And I definitely feel like I didn't guess it was going to be by siding with the other brother, but I did guess that that was one of the possibilities of what he could do. So like I wasn't sure on it, but I was like, oh yeah, like it could be by doing that. So yeah, you know, we got the start of the Jude and Carden storyline there. Like, they've both obviously got feelings for each other, but like, to be honest, how much people hype up that relationship, like it really wasn't a big part of this. Like, they kissed, they both think each other are hot, cool. I did really like how she betrayed him the first time. I really liked how we thought they were gonna escape and get out after the like massacre of his family, and they were both trying to get out of that main hall. I liked that we just thought they were getting out, and then last minute she was like, actually, like, you know, my prisoner, like, you are the most wanted person right now, like, I'm going to use this. I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed that part of, I guess, her realising her place within the spies at that point as well. Yeah, it was really good. I did really enjoy it. So yeah, overall, 5 stars. That was a spoilery section. I do hope, the one thing that I do hope to get in the next book coming from this is to also see a little bit of Vivi and Oak's storyline, because obviously they've now gone back to the mortal world. Like, I don't expect that to play a big part of it, but I hope that we get little glimpses into it of like, you know, like, this is how we're going, because obviously everything that happens from now on is to preserve the throne for Oak and make sure that Oak grows up to be like a decent person. So I feel like getting little updates would be a really cool thing, but I have no clue if we get that or not. So yeah, I'm now going to start the next book. So book 2 in the series is The Wicked King, and I've never before read the back of it, so let's read the back of it, see where we're going. I've heard that for mortals, the feeling of falling in love is very like the feeling of fear. Jude has tricked Carden onto the throne, binding him to her for a year and a day, but the new king does everything in his power to humiliate and undermine her. Meanwhile, a traitor is scheming against her. Jude must fight for her life and also battle her own complicated feelings for Carden. Now, a year and a day seems like no time at all. So yeah, it looks like we're just going to continue on, and I'm really excited about it, so let's get reading. Okay, I don't know how, but somehow I'm already on chapter 19. I'm really enjoying it, it's a lot of fun. There's so much going on. So What are you doing, monkey? So I'd say so far the main thing is we start off 5 months after the end of the last book, and it kind of sounds like everyone's just been like figuring out their place, figuring out the new court and like how everything stands. So yeah, that's that. Jude is now Cardan's, I can't remember the exact name of it, but essentially like a right hand man, advisor for like official capacity, but actually obviously like she can give orders. So that's how that's working. I don't know, like so far it's just been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, is it Narcissa? So she almost shot Cardan because she was jealous he was leaving with someone else, but by doing that and Jude finding her, we now know that she's still in love with him, so that's now like being added to the political aspect. And the way this book is going so far, I think that we're essentially leading up to like either a war or some sort of truce with the like sea kingdom of it all. The Queen of the Sea has essentially said, marry my daughter or you'll regret it and there'll be a war, essentially. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, it's really good. I don't know if I'm as hooked as book 1 by now, but I'm just enjoying the storyline. It's such an easy read, like it very much reads just like classic YA fantasy, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's a good time and I'm enjoying all of the characters, like even the characters you don't like, I feel like you still enjoy hearing about them. So it's a bit odd, a bit weird, but yeah, having a good time. I'm excited to continue on reading. Oh my goodness, I love this. I finished it all last night. Yeah, it was great. Oh my god, so many things happen. I don't even know where to start with this. So basically, they work towards protecting Oak and Cardan because they thought that the Queen of the Sea was going to take one of them, but they didn't. They took Jude, and oh my goodness, like yeah, like she was captured for a month, and it seems like a lot of power plays were made during that time, but it also was very much like Cardan did everything to get her back. So that was interesting. And then she married him and renounced like her year and a day power to order him, basically. So like they're now married and she's queen. But then at the very end, because she killed his uncle and the Queen of the Sea wanted retribution, she was vanished to the mortal world until the High King, or until the Crown, something like that, it was worded weird, gives a pardon. No, I'm confident that this was some sort of play in front of the Queen of the Sea to make it seem like that was happening, because it wasn't like, you know, like you're vanquished for 50 years or 100 years or 5 mortals lifetimes or whatever the shit they might have said. It was very much until you're pardoned, like literally that next day. Yeah, like I feel like it was at the end and it was made to feel like it's a big thing, because I don't think that Jude saw that. I think Jude genuinely thinks that she's been betrayed. I don't know. I'm very excited to start the next book. I don't know. But yeah, there was that. I never liked Taryn, but this book I really started to hate her. And then she like pulled a fast one on June and Cardan to be able to get Maddox to like renounce his claim to the king and essentially go off with his own army, like separate to being part of the Crown's army. And yeah, that was a bit shitty. Did not, yeah, I don't like the way that she was just like worming her way around and thinking, oh, I don't know, she could put her nose into everything. Not a fan of her at all. I do know that there's an ebook that you can get that's like a little tiny book between book 1 and book 2 where we hear a little bit from like Taryn's perspective. But I don't know if I care enough right now to read that. Like I've heard like it's really not relevant at all. It's just essentially a letter from Taryn to Jude explaining herself. But I don't know. But yeah, that was bloody great. I really enjoyed it. I expected to do more updates, honestly. Like, I didn't expect to finish it last night. Just like, once I started reading, I really couldn't put it down. Vivi, not sure about Vivi anymore. Like, she glamoured her girlfriend to forget something, and it just wasn't right, and she didn't seem to understand that. And I get that she's not immortal, but she grew up with two mortal sisters, and I know that Jude said like they hid a lot from her, but still, like, you just don't do that. You just don't. And I feel like the fact that she didn't even see it as a big deal was kind of like a, ooh, are you actually a good person? I'm not sure. Like, are you just a bit selfish and a bit of an idiot? Are you actually like a bad person? But yeah, very interesting. And honestly, I just want to start the next one. I should probably pick it up. So the next and kind of the last one in the series, there is another book, but I don't think it like follows on with the storyline. There's one called How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, but it's not a part of like this trilogy bit. I think it's just like an extra, so I think I'm gonna get that. I think I'm gonna get it and read it. But yeah, oh my goodness, yeah, I am fucking loving this, I'm not gonna lie. So let's read the back together, because you know, I now can read the back for the first time of this, because I'm not going to spoil anything about the other two, because I've read them. It's Wednesday and I've read 2 books this week, about to start a third, and honestly I just want to sit down and read this. Like, I wish I didn't have like real life shit to do today, but I'm really excited for it. So yeah, let's read the back. His voice is soft, and I make the mistake of looking into his black eyes, his wicked curving mouth. But your beauty will fade, he continues, ever softly speaking like a lover. And all you have and all you are will rot away to nothing. You will be nothing. You are nothing. As the exiled mortal queen of Fairy, Jude is reeling from Cardan's betrayal and is determined to reclaim everything he took from her. Opportunity arrives in the form of her deceptive twin sister Taryn, whose life is in peril. Jude must return to the treacherous fairy court and confront her lingering feelings for Cardan. But Elfhame is not as she left it. War is brewing, and she becomes ensnared in the conflict's bloody politics. When a terrible curse is unleashed, panic spreads through the land, forcing Jude to choose between her ambition and her humanity. Let's get reading. Okay, so Taryn has killed Locke, which is probably the only good thing that she's done so far, to be honest. I'm only a couple of chapters in. I'm actually on chapter 5. But yeah, we found that out. So Jude is going to go back to court disguised as Taryn for the inquest so she can lie. So yeah, it's all good. I'm enjoying it so far. It was a very interesting opening. We've already seen her be like fighting, and she kind of like was trying to find her way in the mortal world. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. Okay, so I don't know when I last checked in. I'm now on chapter 11. So much is happening. So I'm now confident that sending her away was like basically a ruse. But we didn't get into that. And then she was kidnapped, but it's not really a kidnapping, because Maddox has kidnapped her but thinks she's Taryn still. And right, so Maddox and Oriana are essentially her parents, right? Like, even if she doesn't completely view them like that, they are, or at least were, her legal guardians. Maddox for at least 10 years that we know of, and I'm pretty sure that Oriana for at least 7 years that we know of. How the hell do they not know these girls apart? I don't know, but yeah. She's decided she's going to make her run for it tonight and try and get back. I think it's pretty obvious that Cardan, you know, loves her, and she needs to figure that shit out, because, I mean, I guess she's never had anything to look at to compare it to, but neither had he, to my knowledge. I don't know. I just feel like I've put my finger on it. With a little bit more communication, which I guess has been tried but hasn't successfully been tried, shit could be figured out very easy. Yeah. In the very small amount of time that she was alone with Carden before getting kidnapped, he mentioned the letters. Why isn't she replying to the letters? She hasn't been receiving letters, so somewhere in his like chain of things going on, something's messed up. But yeah, really enjoyed it still, and I'll give you thoughts and feelings as and when I can. So much is going on right now, but I just wanted to tune in to say he's turned into a snake. A bloody snake. Should have guessed it, there's a snake on the front of it, but the animals on the front of the other books haven't been particularly relevant. But yeah, I'm now really assessing the front of the book and how much it gives away. But yeah, I just kind of pop in and say I'll talk more about everything when I've finished it, because I was like to the end, but like he's turned into a snake. What? Okay, so this is great. It gets 5 stars. It was a really good conclusion. It was a great ending. The only disappointing thing is, well, this is a spoiler vlog, so I can just say it. The fact that the snake needed to die for Carden to be reborn, kind of obvious from the first time they were thinking about the riddle. In fact, really obvious. Now, personally, I did think that the snake was going to need to be, like, cut down the middle. I didn't quite know that a beheading would work as well, so yeah. But I think that's the only disappointing thing, and if I hadn't enjoyed the rest of it that much, that might have knocked it down a star. But honestly, like, it was really good. I think Juta's a bit of an idiot, but she's like 17, 18, like, because it's YA, you kind of have to ignore it. If she was being such an idiot, not seeing someone's like obvious feelings in an adult book, again, something I probably wouldn't have put up with. Like, well, I would have still read it, but it is very much like, you know, it's a bit obvious. Just, you know, maybe use your head a bit. But yeah, really, really loved it. I honestly don't have that much to say about it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed how it went. I enjoyed seeing the different parts of the realm, and it was just a really clever story that came together. I think all of the characters, like all the side characters, got really good endings. Like, you know, it's obvious that the roach and the bomb are gonna end up together, and it's obvious that the ghost likes Taryn. Vivi is back to like dating Heather again, and it was really cute to see both Jude and Carden go back to the mortal world at the end. I enjoyed that. It was like a little extra tidbit. It wasn't needed. We didn't need to have that at the end, but it was really great. And yeah, I think it was all really good, and it really worked well. I kind of wish there was a book just like exploring everything going on, but I have found that there is another book after this called How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. So yeah, my plan right now is just to read it as an ebook on my phone. I realised I needed to find my phone to be able to read the description out like I have for the rest of the book. So this is How the King of the Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, which is book 3.5. It's not a part of the main core series, but it's just extra stories. Once upon a time, there was a boy with a wicked tongue. Before Carden was a cruel prince or a wicked king, he was a fairy child with a heart of stone. In this sumptuously illustrated tale, oh that's good, I didn't know it was illustrated, Holly Black revealed a deeper look into the dramatic life of Elfhame's enigmatic High King. This tale includes delicious details of life before the cruel prince, an adventure beyond the Queen of Nothing, and familiar but pivotal moments from the Folk of Air trilogy told wholly from Carden's perspective. This new insight in the Folk of Air series is a return to the heart-racing romance, danger, humour and drama that their enchanted readers everywhere. Yeah, I'm really excited to read it, so I guess I should just get into it. According to the library, it's 144 pages. But yeah, it should be a good time, so I'll keep you updated. Okay, so I finished the book last night. I've given it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. It just, compared to the other books, like the other 3 books I've given 5 stars each, and I really could only give it 3 stars. The stories were so short. all but 3 of them, like, we knew bits of. Like, there were 3 that followed a storyline that we hadn't heard of, like, containing the same, like, troll character, something like that. And, like, they were decent, like, but they, like, that was 3 of the stories, and realistically they were one short story together, realistically. And the others we knew bits of anyway. So one of the stories was how Nicasia and Carden broke up because she left him for Locke. Well, we already knew that, we just didn't see, like, the actual sort of it happen. And a lot of the stories were like that, like, we knew bits and pieces from the rest of the series. And, like, they were fun, don't get me wrong, like, they were fine, but it didn't add anything. And, like, seeing them from his perspective didn't really add anything either, because by the end of the series we already knew, like, he was actually good and he actually felt things, he just didn't want to show that. Like, by the end of, like, the Queen of Nothing, the last book in the series, like, we already knew that. So it wasn't this, like, groundbreaking thing of, like, a character we didn't know that much about and thought was a baddie and isn't. Like, yeah, it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed reading it, but I don't think it's anything amazing. I would like a physical copy to add to the collection, but I'll probably just wait until it's on sale or goes, like, in paperback or something, because it really wasn't anything special, to be honest. Yeah, that's as simple as I can put it. I'm going to give the final book a go. There is the final book called The Lost Sisters, which is just a 50-page novella. You're meant to actually read it in between book 1 and book 2, so I'm aware that some things will probably be spoilt because I continued on the rest of the series already. But it's just 50 pages and it is half apology, half explanation from Taryn as to why she did the thing she did in book 1, which is essentially be with Locke and not tell her twin sister, who was also getting with Locke, that she was actually with him. So yeah, I think it'll be worth it. I think it'll be a fun time and I'm going to give it a try. So this literally says, sometimes the difference between a love story and a horror story is where the ending comes. While Jude fought for power in the court of Elfhame against the cruel Prince Carden, her sister Taryn began to fall in love with the trickster Locke. Half apology and half explanation, it turns out that Taryn has some secrets of her own to reveal. The Lost Sisters is a companion e-novella to the New York Times best-selling novel The Cruel Prince by master writer Holly Black. So yeah, it's just 50 pages, so at some point today or tomorrow I'll sit down and read it and tell you my thoughts. Okay, so I finished the book. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. It's a difficult one to rate because obviously it's not a novel, it's a novella, you know, like, it's 50 pages long. It's not meant to be this entire book, it's just a little novella. So I do kind of have to bear that in mind when I'm thinking of how to rate it. Having said that, I feel like we really did get Taryn's perspective and got to understand kind of what she was thinking, you know, like, we don't get that really in the books because she doesn't play a massive part of it. Like, we don't see that much of how her thoughts could be working. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think she's an idiot, but I think she's also aware that she's an idiot, so maybe that makes it better. I'm not really sure, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to see, like, what she thought of things, and I enjoyed getting to see, like, you know, like, she perceived a situation this way, whereas, like, we've already seen that same situation from Jude's perspective, and it's obvious that, like, they both perceived it in such different ways. But then in, like, The Cruel Prince, because obviously, like, that's all the events that have happened, like, for this book, we understand why Jude feels a certain way, and when, like, there's a conversation or interaction taking place between the two of them, I feel like you don't really understand why Taryn's necessarily saying some of the things she's saying, what she's necessarily, like, going through, and, like, not understanding how Jude feels is maybe the best way to say it. But reading this, like, you really see, like, she had no clue, like, she really wasn't thinking of anyone but herself, really, which isn't the worst thing, but I feel like everything that was happening to other people, she was only really taking into account how that was affecting her. So, for instance, her sister's found this amazing girlfriend and wants to move to the mortal world, and she's like, well, that's going to affect me. Now I don't have a sister who can do magic. Now I can't just simply do this and do that. And, well, now I really need to get my place in the fairy world so I can do that without having a sister there. And it's like, you know, maybe take a minute to feel happy. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 4 stars. And that's that, really. So, yeah, those were all the books I'm reading this week. It is only Friday evening, but I have decided to call it a week. I have quite a busy weekend, and I think if I do manage to read anything, I'll just continue on with some books that I'm part way through some random other times. Like, I don't think I'm going to get anything finished this weekend, or like, you know, like I'm definitely not going to start any big books. So yeah, that is it from me for this week. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I've really enjoyed reading these books, and I definitely hope to read them again soon. These are the main 3 that I read, and then I also obviously read the other 2 novellas. And yeah, really had a good time, had a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that I read this series. If this isn't a series that you've read and maybe you've just skipped to the end to hear the final thoughts, then I would recommend. I ended up giving it 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars and 4 stars. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a like, subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!